Most murder cases follow a script. Somebody dies, a victim is created, a villain is identified, and the public chooses a side. And eventually, the story fades away. But the Luigi Mangione case did not follow that script, because the strangest thing about the entire story wasn't the shooting, it was what happened afterward. When healthcare executive Brian Thompson was killed, millions of people weren't talking about Luigi Mangione. They weren't even talking about the murder. They were talking about the insurance companies. Denied claims, medical debt, healthcare cost. And something strange started happening, is that the victim began disappearing from the story, while the accused killer became the center of it. And that's unusual and a little disturbing, because murder cases aren't supposed to work that way. So how does one man accused of murder become more famous than the man who died? That's the question. And the deeper I look into this story, the less it's really about Luigi Mangione.
Few people on this planet know what it is to be truly despised. I earn a living fronting an organization that kills 1,200 human beings a day. 1,200 people.
I do not remember who, but either I or somebody else sent it to the appropriate people.
Rubin told Angelides that actions were taken to improve the bank's due diligence operations.
I don't remember today whether I knew at the time or not. I truly do not know, Mr. Chairman.
If the excuse at the top was, we didn't know, that's a pretty poor excuse from people who are hauling down 10, 20, 30, or in Robert Rubin's case, $115 million.
Madam Chairman, the Commonwealth of Kentucky proudly cast 46 votes for the next president, Donald J. Trump.
I actually believe it's something much bigger. Something that was already happening long before either man became the headline. Because Brian Thompson wasn't simply a healthcare executive. He was a father, a husband, and somebody's son, a real human being. But somewhere along the way, many people stopped seeing him that way. They began seeing him as something else, a symbol of insurance companies, a symbol of denied treatments, a symbol of a healthcare system they believe had failed them. And once someone becomes a symbol, empathy starts disappearing. Not all at once, just little by little, until eventually people stop talking about the person entirely and start talking only about what they represent.
When I saw the termination notice come in, it was kind of nerve-wracking.
James DiGilio is 62 years old. He couldn't pay for his health insurance after costs skyrocketed. James works at a pizza restaurant, making $14 an hour washing dishes and delivering food. That brings in, on average, $1,200 a month plus tips. He says that the $1,690 health insurance payment would eat up all the income from his job.
Now think about how strange this is. Millions of people knew Luigi Mangione's name, yet many couldn't tell you a single thing about Brian Thompson. The victim became secondary, and the killer became the main character. Not because of who either man was, but because of what they believed they represented. That's the first clue. This wasn't really about two men. It was about an idea. And that's where things get very uncomfortable, because Luigi didn't create the anger. The anger was already there. For years, people complained about the medical debt, denied claims, insurance battles, waiting months for treatment, rising costs. Whether every complaint is fair isn't even the point. The point is, millions of people genuinely feel these frustrations. And when frustrations build long enough, they need an outlet where to go. And history shows us that over time and time again.
In 2009, after a historic housing market collapse, prices have more than doubled. We now have the lowest home affordability since 1984, even worse than at the peak of the 2006 housing bubble. In 2024...
Though we still need to talk about Luigi himself, because almost immediately something unusual happened. The internet started to create two different versions of him. One version was simple: a murderer, criminal, a man accused of taking another man's life. But the other version was far more dangerous. Luigi became a symbol, a folk hero even. A man some people viewed as striking back against a system they believed that was hurting them. And history has shown us something very interesting. Whenever public frustration reaches a certain tipping point, societies start creating symbols. not solutions, but symbols. The bankers after the financial crisis, the corporate executives during the labor disputes, political figures, public enemies, public heroes, different eras, different causes, but same pattern. The individual disappears, but the symbol takes over. And here's a contradiction nobody talks about. Many of the people who hated Brian Thompson would have traded places with him tomorrow. I mean, he was living the American dream. His salary, success, stock options, lifestyle, and opportunities. If someone offered them everything he had, most wouldn't say no. Which means the anger wasn't really about Brian Thompson. It was about what people believe he represented. And those are two very different things. And maybe that's why this story spread so quickly, because it exposed something much larger than healthcare, a growing collapse of trust. A trust in institutions, trust in the government, trust in corporations, and trust in the media. Trust in systems that previously generations assumed would work. But when trust disappears, resentment moves in. And resentment is powerful, because resentment doesn't require facts. It only requires a feeling. A feeling that somebody else is winning while you're losing. A feeling that the game is rigged. A feeling that nobody is listening to you. And once enough people feel that way, strange things start becoming acceptable. Not necessarily violence, but ideas that would have once seemed unthinkable. And that's the domino effect people rarely discuss. And this is where I honestly think Luigi Mangione stops being the story. Because Luigi might not be the cause. He may be the symptom, like a warning light on the dashboard. Evidence that something underneath the surface is already overheating. Because the conditions that created the reaction to this case haven't disappeared at all. Healthcare, economic, and housing frustrations still exist today. Distrust still exists. Social media still rewards outrage. Yet, millions of people in America still feel ignored. The ingredients are still there. Now let's fast forward in 10 years. Most people watching this video wouldn't remember every detail of the case. The internet will move on. I mean, it always does. And there will be a new outrage, a new villain, a new hero, and a new controversy. The cycle rinses and repeats. But Luigi doesn't move on. And Brian Thompson family doesn't move on. And that's the part social media rarely sticks around for. It's the aftermath. The permanent part. The years that come after the hashtags disappear. Because right now, Luigi exists in two different worlds. And one, he's a world leading the headlines, a debate and a political argument, a symbol, so to speak. But the other world he's living in, he's just an inmate with a number. Wake up, count, eat, lockdown, sleep, and repeat. One world moves at internet speed, while the other one moves at prison speed. And eventually, prison always wins, because reality has one way of outlasting mythology. And maybe that's the real fatal detail. It's not the shooting or the trial, not even Luigi Mangione, but the fatal detail may have been the years of growing resentment long before either man became a headline. Because when enough people stop believing in institutions are working for them, they start looking for villains. Then they start looking for heroes. Then eventually, they stop seeing people altogether, and they only see symbols. And once a society reaches that point, something dangerous happens. Heroes become villains, and villains become heroes. Reality becomes harder to recognize. And the question is no longer what's happening here. The question becomes, what happens next?
Our mission and values are focused on helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone. Data is at the core of our agenda.
Please, let me share something with the fine, concerned people in the audience today. The Ron Goodies of this world want the Robin Willigers to die. You know